We've all been in a theater with your partner or your homie or by yourself because you love movies that much, and you'll be there really immersed in this fictional experience, whether it's a battle between good and evil or a simple self-discovery type film. We just start to sympathize with these protagonists and how the world treats them, but sometimes we look to the other side, to the antagonist, and just say, low-key, they got a point. He might be wrong in his actions, but he's cooking in the reasons of why he has to do this. So today, I want to rank villains on how justified they were in their quest to be an antagonist. Are they completely wrong and deserve to be packed up, or do they have a valid point for their madness? And let's just start with the most justified villain, Magneto, S tier. It can be the version from the comics, movies, or shows. They all have a pretty good point. Having personally lived through some of humankind's worst moments, he should be afraid of the way humans will react to someone, or in this case, a whole race that is different and way more powerful than them. Humans are animals that historically try to destroy things they don't understand, and Magneto just wants to get in front of this problem, eliminate them before they do it to us, or just try to isolate himself and his people. Either way, he's justified in his actions, and that's why he and Professor X will forever be in a stalemate, because they both have valid points on how to coexist with humankind. Joker is the arch villain of the Batman. He is known famously for killing the second Robin, paralyzing Batgirl, killing tens of thousands of people, poisoning hundreds of thousands of people, but I still think he's C tier, simply because he had a bad day. His whole deal is that anyone can become him with just one bad day, and his one bad day included the death of his pregnant wife and being forced into a robbery that went bad and landed him in a vat of chemicals that bleached his skin and maybe messed up his brain. Now, I'm not saying all of his crimes are justified, it just makes sense the way he tells it. I've been rewatching Daredevil and all Netflix shows, and this specific version of the Kingpin is really interesting because he actually mirrors Daredevil so well. Kingpin's mom cares for him so much, but his dad is abusive and harsh. Matt's dad cares for him a lot and wants him to be proud of him, and his mom is mostly absent from his life. Matt questions his fight for Hell's Kitchen through his religion and often ponders his morals through it, whereas Kingpin accepts that he is not and cannot be a religious man. He can't live in a world of belief, only facts. From the outside looking in, it looks like Daredevil should have been the villain, seeing that Hell's Kitchen took his father away from him. He should be the one to want to destroy the whole neighborhood for revenge. And it looks like Kingpin killing his father was eliminating a bad part of Hell's Kitchen and saving someone who matters in his mother. He should have been the one to clear out all the evil from Hell's Kitchen, but through some complicated and great storytelling that we could cover in a different video, things ended up being swapped. And the Kingpin's main goal is to control all crime to destroy Hell's Kitchen, so in the rubbles of its remains they can build a new and greater city. His actions, although harsh and extreme, aren't the craziest things to ever be pitched. I gotta say he's at least B tier. I can see where this version of Kingpin is coming from. Mr. Freeze is a unique case because at first he was just some scientist who had an experiment backfire on him, turning him into an ice-themed villain who committed robberies. Basically a background villain with no motivation but to be bad. But that was before the animated series rewrote his whole character and turned him into a sympathetic villain. You see, from here on out, Victor Freeze will be a scientist who is trying to save his wife from a deadly disease and is involved in an accident usually caused by some rich asshole. He only commits crimes to save his wife and steal things to help her and keep himself alive. He does fall in line with the villains because he has some nihilistic tendencies that lead him to not value any human life that opposes him, so ultimately his motives are completely sane, but his methods not so much. B tier. Lex Luthor is one of my favorite villains because of how intelligent he is. He's constantly going up against an alien who could sneeze and his snot could wound him like a bullet. His brain is unmatched, but his motivations have been rewritten a lot to match the plot of the story. From child abuse to evil billionaire, they've tried to cover it all, but it all comes back to his maniacal ego at the end of the day. His obsession with Superman could be centered around his quest for power and how hard it is, or it could be an unfiltered hate for a foreigner on his planet. At the end of the day, you can box Lex Luthor into a jealousy angle, and to me, that's not a cute thing to justify your villainy. D tier. Thanos in the MCU surprised me a lot. He was hyped up as a villain since the first Avengers film and appeared in little ways until Infinity War, but until then, I always expected him to be a typical villain. I've come to destroy your world type shit, just on some I'm the bad guy because this guy wrote me to be a bad guy. But color me surprised when I was sitting in that theater thinking, this mofo got a point. We might not have enough resources for everyone on this planet. I mean, in 50 years, the world has doubled in population. People are living longer and having more babies. And with the resources becoming more scarce and prices going up, salaries don't always follow, and we end up with extreme poor and extreme rich. And at some point in the future, we'll just end up in a Purge type movie. So here comes the mad purple nutsack Shin to randomly eliminate half the universe to protect these resources and everyone can live a better life. But what he's forgetting is that we're some freaks.
freaky ass nigga, he a 69 guy.
No matter what he does, the population will keep growing and this problem will return eventually. What he should have done was double the resources, but still, his reasonings are sound and come from a good place. I don't know if I will be right next to him like Squidward, but I could definitely understand his reasoning. A tier. Dr. Doom is a man who is similar to Thanos. He wants to lead a world into a better future through his tactics. He believes the human race will end up dead if they are not led by one person in a unified group, which might be true, but it can certainly not be him. His ego is worse than Lex's. He sees a small 2-inch scratch on his face and sees it as a disfiguring scar so bad he must put a metal face on to hide his whole face. He cannot admit when someone is smarter than him, stronger than him, or even someone who just deserves more praise than him. He has an unnatural obsession with godhood, and I just think his ego is too out of control for his motives to be anything justifiable. I'll give him C tier though, he's still a pretty cool villain. Okay, I think I'm gonna speed it up and do some quick fire MCU villains. Ironmonger, F tier. He's just an evil billionaire that wants to kill Iron Man for his company. Loki, D tier. I mean, as a villain, for the most part, he's just jealous of his brother because he's gonna be king, but his redemption arc is amazing. Red Skull, F tier. It's hard to justify anything a Nazi does. Hela, B tier. Can we really blame her for doing her job as the goddess of death? I think not. Plus, she is the villain of the only good Thor movie, so that has to count for something. Vulture, A tier. Shit, I would do the same thing if I was Adrian in this universe. They took our jobs. I need to provide for my family by any means, but I probably wouldn't try to kill my daughter's prom babe. Yellow Jacket, F tier. Ironmonger Part 2, who can shrink, and it's MODOK for some reason now. Winter Soldier, S tier. He was brainwashed, he couldn't help it. Mysterio, C tier. Mostly because his beef you got with Spider-Man should have been aimed at his daddy, Tony Stark, but he's dead, so I guess you gotta pick on Iron Boy Jr. Wanda, D tier. She is a villain for right now, and a terrible one. Why are you destroying the fabric of universes for children that you never had? Just find the nearest Charles Xavier and tell him to lobotomize you before you destroy anything else, please. The Mandarin, B tier. We don't need to talk about all the terrorism he's probably responsible for, because in Shang-Chi, he just wants his wife back. He really missed her and was able to be tricked, but still did the right thing by giving the 10 rings to his son before he died. Ultron, A tier. I can't blame a robot for fulfilling its programming to protect humanity, because humanity itself is a danger to itself, so of course he must eliminate it to protect it. But I can blame the programmers. Baron Zemo. In the MCU, he is not a Nazi, so I can justify some things he does, like getting revenge for his family. But trying to off himself before he can face the consequences of his actions, mad puss. C tier. Killmonger, S tier. Eric is right and T'Challa is right. There could be two right answers, but at the end of the day, would you rather build a better world together or destroy a world to recreate one in your image? It's really up to you. And a lot would pick Killmonger's point, but too bad he caught that dagger in the chest. Namor, also S tier. He could have been a little bit more diplomatic perhaps, but that's not his responsibility. His responsibility is to protect Talokan. He has to protect his people no matter what, and if any nation threatens them, it's on sight. I don't care if you're mourning your brother, make sure these air breathers don't come near my nation again. Green Goblin, B tier. In No Way Home, Norman reminds me of Joker a lot. His insanity pushes the plot forward. His obsession with Peter Parker is interesting, almost like he sees the rage hiding in him, and he is trying so hard to just see it. I can't say he's completely justified in his actions, but at the same time, he wasn't in his right mind. Clearly, this is Goblin and not Norman. Kang was an interesting character to see pop up for a couple years, and it is sad because we will never see his original plan, but from all we know as of now, he just wanted to conquer as many universes as he could for some multiversal war against himself, so F tier. And to round out the F tier, let's just throw all the Guardian villains in there. I mean, Ego was going on impregnating women and killing them to just find a seed with his powers so he can remake the universe in his image so he can have some spark to life or something. The High Evolutionary is trying to play God and create creatures to populate his own twisted world. It's just a lame dude trying to be less lame by controlling people. And the Hammer guy literally got beat by the power of dance and friendship. We don't care what motivates him, he's a lame as well. So I guess now that the MC villains are over, let's get back to business. Oh wait, looks like I forgot one. Icarus.
Lame!
Anyway, let's rank some Pixar villains. They make the best animated movies, so the villains gotta be 5. Skinner has to be S tier. His motives are just common sense. Rats shouldn't be in the kitchen, and I'm also not believing a random letter saying my cook is entitled to my restaurant like I'm double, triple, quadruple checking that shit no matter what. Syndrome, again, has to be S tier. He was just a wee boy, Mr. Incredible. Things like this make a child into a man. You gotta be nicer, dude. Now you just gotta deal with this boy's childhood trauma erupting on you 20 years later.
Pause.
Okay, this video is going on a little longer than I expected, so I should probably wrap things up. I think ultimately most of these villains can be written in ways that can be justified, but at the end of the day, they are antagonists. They have to antagonize, and that will lead them to make wrong or immoral decisions at the end of the film or show. If you disagree with anything I say, please leave them in the comments. I really would like to have a conversation with you. If you think I should make a part 2, also leave that in the comments. Like and subscribe if you are new. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you on the next one.